So, we had twins about 16 years ago. There was no point in her working just to pay for daycare, so we went to a single income. It was tough, and I ended up taking a second part-time job to make ends meet. She had a friend from school, a male, about her age, with whom she would go for walks. She always took the twins, but the oldest was in school at that point. I have to own up to not being there since I was in survival mode, trying to make money. Twice a week, walks became everyday walks. Then they started meeting up for dinner. I still don't believe she purposely fell into an emotional affair, but it happened. After a couple of months, I was renewing our income-based repayment plan for student loans and had to respond to her email from the IRS to pull tax records. I asked her to look for it, but she said to do it because she was going to put the twins down. I went into her email, and an email from him showed up. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. It was a really lovey-dovey thing about how he missed seeing her that day. He looks forward to meeting up tomorrow, and how he still wants to get together without the kids so they can maybe take things further. I was literally devastated. Just then, her parents showed up since they were watching the kids so we could go Christmas shopping. I kept it together just to get out of the house. I could tell that she could tell something had happened, though. We got in the car, drove about a block away, stopped, and I asked her what was going on. I told her to check her email and see why I was upset. She showed me all of their communications, texts, emails, FB messages. It was obvious it wasn't 100% one-sided but more him than her, although she was kind of flirty sometimes. She admitted that getting lonely led to her seeking attention from him. But she emailed him then and there that she couldn't see him anymore, and we moved on. I asked if it was physical, and she said that beyond hugs, hello and goodbye, there was nothing. I believe that much at least. I know they never saw each other after that, and he died a few years later. I'm not sure if I could have dealt with a physical affair and moved on with her. After a long talk, I decided to accept her apology, own my distance from her, and let it go. Things are really good, but I still can't fully get over it myself. I don't think she knows that it still eats me up sometimes, infrequently, but occasionally. I don't even know my point, sorry for rambling. The twins are graduating this year from high school, and I have a good life. Maybe this is therapeutic. Update. First, I appreciate all the input. For those who insist it was physical, I'm personally comfortable it never was. I may be wrong about that, but I truly don't believe I am. So, we went out for dinner last night, just the two of us, which we try to do once a week. She asked me if I was okay since I seemed to be off for the past week. I had no intention of broaching this subject, but she asked. So, I just said my head was in a dark place because of what happened back then. She went silent for a moment, then just apologized for what happened back then. She asked if I had doubts too, to which I replied that I didn't have doubts about what happened. It just still hurts sometimes. She said if there was anything else, and I just lost it in the restaurant. Apparently, the issue with her is the tip of the iceberg where my headspace is. This post was focused on one thing, but my youth has been weighing on me as well. I had a rather troubling childhood, involving abuse, homelessness, addiction issues in the family, as well as tons of other stuff that could fill a book. So, now I'm ugly crying and can't stop. I fucking hate crying. She moved over and sat with me, giving me a hug. Our server came by and checked on us. My wife asked for the bill, but as we're regulars, they actually just comped it. I calmed down on the walk to the car, and we talked more about what happened on the ride home. At the time it happened, I just wanted to move on, so we really never dug into it the way we did last night. I'm pretty confident that it was the beginning of an emotional affair, more him than her, but she did admit that she was enjoying the attention from him but insists for her it was a friendship. She also admitted that she was realizing it was more for him, but she didn't discourage it when she should have. She also apologized for not realizing how much I was hurt by this than she believed. Moving on, I'm looking for a therapist for myself to deal with my own issues. We're also going to see a therapist together to hopefully move on. It's a tough choice for me since I've always viewed therapy as being for the weak. That's it, nothing earth-shattering, but I appreciate the advice to talk. I feel like some weight I didn't know I was carrying has been lifted off my shoulders. Still have much to do. Update 1. After marital counseling yesterday, my wife tells me she has something to share, that she's kept things from me. It turns out, prior to our wedding, she had 2 physical affairs with friends of mine. One even took place in our bed. She said that she just can't keep living with the lies. I'm just beaten down. Done. I've been with her through everything, including her breast cancer and family tragedies. Honestly, I just started crying and left. Today, I moved some of my stuff to my brother-in-law's place. He has an in-law apartment and he says he won't say anything about where I am. I just picked up both my kids that live with us and told them that I'm moving out. I didn't go into specifics. My wife is texting and calling non-stop, but I just can't handle it. I have a bottle of bourbon and I doubt if I'll make it to work tomorrow. Thanks to those who reached out. I am safe. I have a buddy who's a cop. I turned my firearms over to him to keep for a while, just in case things get dark later. I plan to have bourbon on the rocks and play some Fallout 4 tonight. I just feel so stupid. Update 2. Yesterday, everything blew up. Tonight, at home, it's over. We're going to do mediation. Think we found a lawyer. We're chilling and watching a movie together. She gets the house. I keep my pension. We're both moving out but keeping the place while the twins are in college. Then it's hers. While having to cohabitate, neither of us can date. That lasts until mediation is completed. It's probably going fast and probably not going to be that easy, but for today, it's my life. Our oldest won't talk to her. The twins are so upset. I'm worried about them. Update 3. So many of you have reached out, and I appreciate all of you. So, 2 months ago, I had a mental breakdown that included my wife's emotional affair 16-ish years ago. Part of this was individual counseling for me and marital counseling with her. Things were going amazingly with all of that. 2 days ago, after a marital counseling session, she shared that she had physical affairs with 2 of my friends before we were married, so 27-ish years ago. I can't even get in touch with these guys at this point. Completely lost touch. I have told her it is a divorce. She isn't fighting it, and we actually have made some agreements that we will bring to the attorney we have found for mediation. There is something not right going on, though. Regardless of anything else happening, she is not acting right. I know her and how she acts in situations. When she has done something wrong, she will not admit it to the point of being angry about it. This time, she just says it happened and is sad about it. That is not normal at all. I can't imagine why she is acting so differently, and I don't see it changing anything at this point, but my antennae are quivering, so I plan to contact any college friends I can who were around back then to ask questions. Regardless, today was a pretty good day. The local golf course has $20 for 18 holes in a cart, same for a guest, for veterans, so I took my son out to play 18 for $40 for the 2 of us. We have a mediator appointment at the end of next week. Update 4. A few weeks have passed since my last update, and a lot has happened. The mediation process is ongoing, and while it's been challenging, it's also been enlightening in many ways. I've continued with my individual therapy, and it's been incredibly helpful in dealing with not just the recent revelations about my marriage, but also issues from my past that I hadn't fully addressed. This journey of self-discovery, while painful at times, has opened my eyes to the importance of self-care and mental health. Regarding the situation with my wife, we've maintained a civil and even somewhat supportive coexistence during this transition period. This isn't to say that things are easy or that the hurt has vanished, but there's a sense of mutual understanding that we're both navigating through a difficult time. The kids have been my main concern throughout all this. I've been spending a lot of quality time with them, trying to ensure they feel supported and loved. It's tough, seeing them upset and confused, but I'm doing my best to be there for them. As for my wife's behavior and the sudden admissions, I've reached out to some old college friends, and their insights have been quite revealing. There's still a lot I'm trying to process, but I'm taking it one day at a time. The house situation is still the same for now. We've agreed to keep things stable for the twins as they finish this academic year. The plan for her to eventually take over the house is still in place. Professionally, I've managed to maintain my focus at work, and my colleagues have been understanding. I've taken a few personal days here and there, but overall, I'm keeping things together. In summary, life is moving forward, sometimes with uncertainty, but always with the hope of healing and finding a new path for myself and my family. I'm learning to accept the things I cannot change and to focus on building a positive future. The support from friends, family, and even strangers has been invaluable. Thank you to everyone who has reached out with kind words and advice. It's a journey, but I'm not walking it alone. Update 5. The past few weeks have been a whirlwind, and I'm still trying to process the latest revelations. In a turn of events that I never anticipated, I discovered that the infidelity in my marriage extended far beyond what I initially knew. It turns out that the cheating started from the very beginning of our relationship, and it was more extensive than I could have ever imagined. This information came to light unexpectedly. A mutual friend, who had been unaware of our current situation, reached out to me. They shared stories and details from the past, thinking I was already aware. The depth and duration of the betrayal left me reeling. Confronting my wife with this information was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Her reaction was a mix of remorse and resignation. She didn't deny the facts. Instead, she confessed that she had been unfaithful throughout our entire relationship, with multiple partners. This was a level of deception that I hadn't even considered possible. The impact of this revelation on my emotional state has been profound. I feel a mixture of anger, sadness, and disbelief. Every memory and every moment of our relationship is now tainted with a sense of falsehood. As for our divorce proceedings, this new information has inevitably complicated things. We're still going through mediation, but the atmosphere has shifted significantly. The discussions are more strained, and the emotional undercurrent is palpable. My therapy sessions have become even more crucial during this time. They're helping me navigate through the myriad of emotions and assisting me in keeping a clear head as I make decisions about the future. The kids are my priority, and I'm doing everything I can to shield them from the worst of this. They know that their mother and I are separating, but I've spared them the painful details. They're dealing with their own emotions, and I'm trying to be there for them as much as possible. In the midst of this turmoil, I've found some solace in the support of friends and family. Their understanding and willingness to listen have been a lifeline. I'm also focusing on self-care and trying to find moments of peace amidst the chaos. Whether it's through meditation, long walks, or just spending time with my kids, I'm learning to find strength in the simple things. This journey has been one of the most challenging of my life, but I'm committed to moving forward and building a new future for myself and my children. The road ahead is uncertain, but I'm taking it one step at a time, with a focus on healing and growth. Thank you for joining us for the first story. And guess what? We've got another exciting story for you. Before we jump in, a like and a subscribe would go a long way in keeping these engaging stories coming your way. Now, let's dive into the next story. Story 2. I've known David for over 15 years at work. He's a few years older than me, and we share a similar upbringing, having grown up around the Chicagoland area. When I first joined our workplace, he was one of the first to introduce himself and helped show me the ropes. He was a rung or two higher up the corporate ladder and would always look out for the newbie, especially at happy hours after work, where he'd explain office politics and where I'd messed up so I could do better. Being new to the West Coast back then, he kind of adopted me as a surrogate older brother. So, it didn't take long for me and my wife to start hanging around his family, Gina, and their 3 kids. Gina is not physically pretty or beautiful, but she is a true, honest personality who has devoted her life to raising her kids and supporting David's career. Over the 15 years we've known each other, Gina has aged poorly. We've all seen it happen to some people. A parent who gives their family their all and doesn't spend effort on maintaining themselves. David isn't a Chad either. He's a medium ugly dude with a pear-shaped dad bod, but he had that good guy air about him that would draw others in. You could say that it was a good match between two people on the same relative position on the 10-point hotness scale. Last spring, in 2022, David was promoted to director. Over 250 people work under him. He is making damned good money, obscene even. He also just turned 45, which makes him one of the youngest executives at our company. He has also helped my career as he would name drop me in discussions with his peers, and I have also advanced quickly. It is not an understatement to say that David wields some power. This is where I think things start going wrong, and my spider sense started tingling. First are the passive-aggressive digs at Gina. Stuff about how she's old and cranky about him wanting to have fun. I brushed this off as old married couples banter. He then starts going out at all hours and hanging out at places targeting the young professional crowd. So, he builds friendships with people literally 15-20 years younger than him. With his high amounts of disposable income, dropping $1,000 a night buying drinks is nothing. Fine. David is enjoying his life, and he can afford it. Hell, I've been on the receiving end of some nights of his generosity. And those younger people in their late 20s to mid-30s around him? All are adults. There's nothing illegal about an older guy trying to live vicariously through younger people. The problem came with Sarah. Sarah is in her early 30s and is an absolute stunner. She is a literal model who is at the sunset of her modeling career and is trying to switch to a different career as a hairstylist. We all start noticing David trying to fix his appearance. Like dressing better, styling his hair, and even dropping a lot of weight. His comments on Gina's deteriorating appearance also increase. I try to talk to him about what's changed. But David is now my direct boss at this time, and it's hard to broach the subject, and I chicken out multiple times. Next, we see Sarah and David start hanging out a lot. They'd come as a pair to happy hours and to other work people's hangouts. I even started noticing them holding hands a few times. His hands are all over her at times too. The sight is very odd. A tall, stunning brunette model paired with a shorter, frumpy, and fat middle-aged man. I talk to him at this point. He says they're just friends and tells me not to worry about it as he won't let himself go too far. Somehow it leaks to Gina. She freaks out, and for a while, David falls in line. Sarah doesn't come out to our work group happy hours, but David still disappears off with the 20 and 30-something crowd. Whatever. Great. It's done, I think. David had a minor judgment error, and it's been corrected. He is still the great mentor I have at work. He and Gina seem reconciled, and they are awesome with my kids when we hang out together as families. All quiet on my end for about 6 months. Last month, I found myself having a drink with one of those guys in the 30-something group. He really can't keep secrets well, as after a few rounds, he blurts out that David and Sarah have been sleeping together for nearly a year as a, did you know, gossip drop. I find out around the same time Sarah started coming to our work group hangouts. She was looking to move downtown and wanting to start her own salon while being able to still get modeling gigs. Apparently, David has helped her find an apartment and is subsidizing her rent. This was well known in that group but has been kept quiet amongst David's work friends. She had understood David had all this money and, being a fat, ugly dude in the midst of a midlife crisis, he was an easy mark. I am floored. Sarah is obviously a gold digger out for my friend's money. David is a willing participant and is funding her life as a sugar daddy. All the pieces fall into place for me. David's drastic change in appearance, his weight loss, his digs at Gina, showboating at clubs and bars where girls like Sarah would hang out. Even those times where he said he was with his other friends were just a smokescreen to hook up. I am really torn between my loyalties to a good friend by keeping this to myself and telling his wife, who has become a family friend. Gina has given her life to David and their kids. She is the nicest lady and deserves someone to treat her well. She deserves the stable life she nurtured over the last 20 years. Yet Gina has always been a stay-at-home mom and has really no capability of supporting herself. Even with alimony, if they did divorce, which I think is 100% going to happen if she knows the full truth. Yet even as I write this, I think back to all the times David had helped me. Pulling me aside after I've made a bad call at work, or propping me up in some executive meetings. I honestly can say my family has benefited greatly from his mentorship of my professional life. Sarah would probably dump David once a bigger fish came across or whenever she finds someone she truly wanted. So why not let David work out his midlife crisis? But on the other hand, I can't stand infidelity. Betrayal is one of those truly unforgivable transgressions. Especially to a wife of 20 years. Remember, if you enjoyed today's episode, don't hesitate to share it with your friends, family, and fellow adventurers in the YouTubeverse. As always, your comments and feedback mean the world to us, so keep those discussions going down below. And if you have a story, topic you'd love to see featured on the show, drop it in the comments section.